had been simmering tensions in schools around townships before June 1976. In 1974, the apartheid government had issued a decree that Afrikaans would be the language of instruction in all schools. The decree forced teachers to teach all subjects in Afrikaans. The government's proposed plan was to compel students to take half of their content subjects, like biology and mathematics, in Afrikaans, and the other half in English. Students vehemently refused to be taught in Afrikaans.
But the idea of introducing Afrikaans as a medium of learning in black schools, for example, was started in 1974 with what they called, the Bantu Education and Language Decree. And then, in 1975, there were strong talks again all the way until 1976. When we heard that it was going to be enforced, some of us approached the teachers to intervene. But those days, if you were black African, versus the apartheid government, your interventions were not particularly taken very serious. We realized that, some of the teachers we spoke to indicated that, look, there's nothing they can do.
Afrikaans was a huge problem. The teachers themselves couldn't understand Afrikaans. They couldn't teach in Afrikaans. The children themselves, it was worse because the subjects, if they're in Afrikaans, that's why it collapsed. It didn't work.
The teachers accepted because they were civil servants. They couldn't say anything else. Now, the student, they said to the teachers, enough is enough. We will take this into the street to demonstrate. We protest to show that we are against this. We cannot be taught mathematics, science, and all these subjects in the medium instruction of Afrikaans.
The majority of people resented Afrikaans. They saw it as the language of the oppressor. Even though teachers and parents tried to reason with the state to review the language policy in schools, students felt that there were bigger politics beyond their circumstances. In fact, one student wrote to the World newspaper, "Our parents are prepared to suffer under the white man's rule. They have been living for years under these rules and they've become immune to them. But we strongly refuse to swallow an education that is designed to make us slaves in the country of our birth."
Parents were also very concerned about this. They were also talking about it, but it also extended to liberation organizations because, members of those liberation organizations that were operating underground, were also, involved in talking about this, but, putting a clear political perspective behind this introduction of Afrikaans. For us, what the enforcement of Afrikaans represented, it represented, an increase in the repression of the apartheid government. As kids then, we said, this is an interest of white people oppressing black Africans. And we are on our own. Our parents, seems to be powerless. So as a student, we no longer even gonna bother to consult with them. But, we were sinking deeper and deeper in a quagmire of hardship. So we acted.
The first act was to call a students' meeting on the 13th of June 1976 in Orlando. At the meeting, 19-year-old Tsietsi Mashinini called for a mass demonstration against the use of Afrikaans. They even made a pact not to get their parents involved, believing they would try to stop them.
June 16 was fully planned on the 13th of June, and we're in the streets on the 16th. The question is, why 3 days? Why were you in such a hurry? We knew that if we let it stay longer, the police will then pick up will know and grab most of us and arrest us. So we needed something that was going to happen quickly. And there's something naughty. There was going to be exams. We're writing half-yearly exams. We're going to start with half-yearly exams, June half-yearly exams. So we didn't want to start with half-yearly exams that year. We wanted to go out to the streets and before the half-yearly exams. And mainly because, of course, the half-yearly exams, some of them were going to be in Afrikaans in any way, and what we're fighting against in any way was about, this Afrikaans and that form of education. So we were making our point.
The plan for a march was also being hatched in other schools as far as Cape Town.
When the concern was raised, whether it started being raised in Soweto, but the concern circulated all around the country, Before 1976, Cape Town students were already expressing concerns. There were discussions in Cape Town about, the fact that students were going to be forced to learn in Afrikaans, And the other concern was how many of us were going to fail because, we suddenly now have to change the majority of subjects that we learned in English or Xhosa or Zulu and so on. We had to suddenly make this radical change. So it was very clear that, most students were going to battle. So enforcing Afrikaans as a language of learning was going to create more hardship for many students, and their families too,
Back in Soweto, the students had an elaborate plan on how their march would unfold.
It was supposed to take 3 days. It was supposed to be 3 days. The first march was supposed to be on June 16. The second march was on a Wednesday. And then the second march was supposed to be on a Thursday. The third march was supposed to be on a Friday. Then we are going to listen to the response of government and then meet in Orlando Stadium on Friday so that then we can then plan the next action. We understand? That was the plan of the action committee that was led by Tsietsi Mashinini. Unfortunately, the police disrupted that whole plan, and then it became the June 16. So we never as such planned June 16. We planned June 16, 17, and 18.
They said on the 16th, Sekanantwana, Morris, na Lady High should move down to Orlando West Junior. And then on the 17th, it was Madibeng and Orlando High. At that time, Orlando High was reluctant because the principal, Mr. Kambule, locked the gates, and they had some police vans outside, so students shouldn't participate on the 16th. He locked everything because he knew already what was going on. And then on the 18th, I'm talking of the plan. On the 18th, then all students we march to Orlando Stadium.
At Orlando Stadium, the students planned to draft a memorandum of their grievances. But, as fate would have it, the apartheid police force unleashed its might on them.
Nobody expected that this is going to be a big thing because it was just a students' march. The student was just going to register their concern, to write a memorandum to submit it to the Department of Education. Their aim of marching was to march to Orlando Stadium and gather there to start writing a memorandum while they are together. So they didn't even reach Orlando Stadium. When they reached at Orlando West High, which is CK High School, Vilakazi Street, so is where the police started the trouble.
If the school inspector at the time, Sam De Beer, the Minister of Education, MC Buota, was the Minister of Bantu Education and Minister of Bantu Affairs. We were called Bantus that time. If they had listened to us, because we had wanted to negotiate, if they'd listened to us, and maybe we wouldn't have had an experience of June 16. But we tried means of talking. Our parents also took, as I say, the department to court. And apartheid government said, no, we pay for your education, you're going to do it, whether you like it or you don't. And so it came to a time when we said, enough is enough.
Sam Nzima and Sophie Tema were assigned to cover the march. Nzima recalls how people seemed surprised about the students' turnout. He says a police squad was sent in to form a line in front of the marchers. What happened next still haunts him today.
When you look at the Orlando West direction, we saw a crew of police, a convoy of police coming down to Orlando West. When they arrived there, the police in charge, who had his stick in his armpit, he pulled out his stick and say, "What makela klek is so?" The man said, 3 minutes, in fact, Khan is off. Which means that I'm giving you 3 minutes. What are you doing here, little ones? I'm giving you 3 minutes, must disperse from here. So they start to sing the song which was banned, was Sigelela Africa. I think that's the thing that provoked that guy, the leader of the police, and they pulled his gun and shot direct to the crowd.
By the way, we hardly, our fingers were like this. The only thing that was available for us to protect ourselves was a dustbin lid and a stone. The other thing that was there was the wind that saved us, because when they threw the tear gas to us, the wind blew to their side, and then so they had, whilst the wind was blowing to the side of the police, so the police had to run away from the position where they were to try and attack us in bullets.
When the first shots were fired, Sam Nzima took pictures. One of them became probably the most famous photograph of the uprising.
I went there under the shower of bullets for the picture. When I took that picture of Hector Peters and see that thing on the wall there. I took that picture, 6 shots. Mbuyiso Makhubo was trying to get the nearest car to take Hector Peterson to the nearest clinic. And indeed, the only car was our press car, which was a Volkswagen. Sophie Tima helped Mbuyiso Makhubo to take Hector Peterson to the car, put him in the back seat. They drove into the clinic. On arrival there, the doctor certified Hector Peterson dead on the arrival. Then the student picked up the stone and retaliated, hit back to the police. The police were shooting with the live ammunition. There were no rubber bullets by then, but they were using live ammunition. So the student hit back to the police while they're shooting with the live ammunition. I think they ran out of bullets. I don't know what happened. Because all of a sudden I saw the police running into the Gumba, the Kwela, that big truck.
The police's response to our protest marches and so on didn't actually get the desired effect. So they became more brutal. They started shooting. They would come and say, we give you 5 minutes to disperse, before a minute was over, you could tell that some of them were trigger happy, being racist, they just wanted to shoot, So, they basically, the authorities reacted with such brutality. 1976 would never have developed into what it developed in, specifically with the killings, Had they actually, white South Africans, had they actually acknowledged and accepted the fact that we were fellow human beings despite the different pigmentation and so on, they realized that, this was a genuine concern by the students after they felt that their parents or teachers had failed, to actually get the right responses from government, and later on when they sent the authorities and the police, if they had also recognized the fact that we were kids.
Soweto became a battlefield. Students attacked what they saw as symbols of apartheid. Government buildings were razed to the ground. Vehicles belonging to white businesses and beer halls were not spared. As the battle continued well into the night, thousands of students were arrested, and most were not prepared for the brutality that awaited them. Michael Tsagaya was only 17 when he was arrested.
Until they moved me to an isolation cell. It was a small cell, like this. You sit like this for the whole day. When you come out there, after 2 days, 3 days, your knees can't even bend. But they will make you to walk until you are straight. That's how we keep going. There was one Sunday where you all sit and with one knee, or you sit down, and the big guys. Then that's where you can see who is there, who's not there.
Under detention without trial, we were tortured. I won't forget things that Maburu were ruthless. If I were to take off my shoes now, I would show you that underneath my feet, there are holes. You can still see the marks. We were asked to jump on needles. We were put on wet rubber on our face. We were tortured in different forms. We were made to pick up, sometimes they would take bricks, 3 bricks, put a twine, and after putting a twine, put a hook of put a twine around the bricks, and put a wire and another twine, and tighten your balls, and let you squat, and let you pick. You won't understand this, you're a lady, but squat and let you pick up those bricks, with your balls. Sorry, don't mind my language. Women use sometimes even in kind of tongue, in their nipples, pull their nipples, now you feel it. Pull that, squeeze them, so that you must tell what they want you to say.
As the death toll rose, so did the students' resolve. The rioting soon spread from Soweto to other towns. The police and the army also seemed to be buoyed by the message the apartheid government was sending out.
The police, however, are actively engaged in restoring order, and there is definitely no reason for any panic. This government will not be intimidated, and instructions have been given to maintain law and order at all costs. Those educational institutions at which blacks are destroying their own amenities will be closed.
The 1976 uprising raised the political awareness of students. It also introduced a renewed sense of independence and initiative among the youth, inspiring them to change their lives. Liberation organizations were never behind the planning of the June 16 march, but the state's response to the students' uprising was nothing short of brutal. This forced thousands of young people into exile.
Within the ANC, MK, after that, the MK had a lot of their members coming from the youth of 1976. APLA had a lot of members coming from the 1976 people. Some of them who didn't know much about bigger politics.
As our country celebrates 20 years of the attainment of freedom and democracy, many scars from the June 1976 uprising have yet to heal.
I didn't expect that fathers would kill their children. I didn't think that they were going to be that worse. The least that they could have done, yes, it was to give us a whip, not shoot bullets and kill us. Our reaction the worst was to really take us to jail. Not to kill us. Not to kill Hector Peterson. Oh, please. Not to kill those kids. Those fathers who were shooting were really killing, and were really out to kill and kill children. Now, you can imagine how, sorry, one I still ask, as in that song, Senzeni now. I don't know what did we do that was that worse to deserve a bullet instead of a book.
Mbuyisa Makhubu was among the thousands forced into exile. He disappeared in 1974 and his whereabouts are still unknown. Recently, there were hopes that a prisoner languishing in a Canadian jail could be the teenager that carried the dying Hector Peterson. DNA tests were conducted as the nation had a collective wish that one of its long-lost sons had been found.
The outcome of the DNA test, which was negative, the family then indicated to me that they would like to do further verification. Because you'll recall that when we started checking this information, because the family was receiving a lot of information that there is someone that is believed to be Mbuyisa. But I then insisted to them that because he has left many years ago, it's important that we do a DNA test.
Efforts to find Mbuyisa Makhubu and many others are still underway. Even though Mbuyisa's mother, Nombulelo Makhubu, died without knowing the whereabouts of her son, she was proud that he did what was necessary to try to save Hector Peterson.
All I know is that he picked up Hector Peterson from the scene of the accident. He didn't know he was dead, although we learned later that he died instantly. He took him to the clinic because he thought he was injured. And after that, he couldn't stay home because the police were looking for him. They were calling him an unsung hero. And I told them that in my culture, he's not a hero. He did what he should do. We blacks, we are our brother's keepers. If he had jumped Hector Peterson and not picked him up, it would be a disgrace.
I remember the day when I heard the sound of the marching feet from a distance, rising all the way. From the sound of the stomping feet to the sound of resistance. Then there was fire and insurrection, rocks and stones and action, bullets and pellets from every direction, sirens and silence and petrol of depression.